Over 1,000 CEOs walked out of their jobs in the first 5 months of the year. They were capable, they were skilled, they were talented, they were invested in their teams, they were relational, and they left. One has to wonder what would actually drive them out the door to walk away from insurance benefits and PTO and a salary. What would actually bring a person to make a hard left and say, that's it, I'm done, I'm out? Now, I don't know where they went. Maybe they went to another job. Maybe they took a sabbatical. Maybe they decided retirement was the right time. But either way, they left those roles, they left those positions. And I want to tell you about a client of mine. Now, on paper, she has everything. You would probably see her on social media and be like, that's it. She's it. She's not like who I think about being. She is who I dream about being. She is the end goal, the epitome, all the things lumped into one that I want. The title, the salary, the team, the reputation, the experience. And when she brought me on to coach her, I quickly learned that she was the most miserable person in the room. She was barely hanging on by a thread. She was barely making it through her day, and she was absolutely miserable. Now, before she brought me on, she had tried all the things, right? She had tried books and journaling and a vacation that somehow made her feel worse when she got back from it. And coming into coaching for her, was a last ditch effort at holding on to the dream that she felt like she could attain. She felt like it was there. She just wasn't sure how to get there. And because of all of the things she had tried previously, she was super skeptical about working with a coach and about jumping into it. She was skeptical about even trying again. Let's be honest, right? When you try so many things and they don't work, trying again doesn't always feel so great. But she was out of options and she didn't want to quit. She wasn't ready to give up. If she sounds like how you have felt, I would love to invite you to stay with me through the rest of this conversation. The leaders that I work with aren't necessarily working more hours than they used to. Um, they're just carrying this mental weight and mental load that never switches off. It never turns off. They go to the shower thinking about it, they're on the toilet thinking about it, they're going to bed thinking about it, they're at work thinking about it. They're having a date night with their partner and they're thinking about it. They're at their kid's soccer game and it's taking up their headspace. It's this switch that doesn't turn off. And there's not any kind of like productivity app that's going to fix that. It's a lot more complex than that, but it's also doable and fixable. Now, there's a term, I don't know if you've ever heard of this before, and this was new to me, called presenteeism, not absenteeism, presenteeism. And presenteeism is where we are in the space, we're physically there, but we're not really there. Like we're mentally tapped out. I read this in an article with the American Journal of Preventative Medicine, um, when they were talking about burnout. And they actually are starting to look at the financial costs of employees being there but not being there. And I think it's more than we all expected. It's not quite as dramatic as an employee that leaves. The cost is less, but it's still pretty high when we're there, but we're checked out. We're not actually here. We're not present. We're not focused. And this client of mine, when I worked with her, that's exactly what was happening. And what's interesting about presenteeism is that we are dealing with people that are still working, they're still doing. And this happens on all levels in our system, right? In an organization where a task maybe takes two or three times longer than it should because we're not focused on it. Our brains are not there. We're not actively creatively solving a problem. We are thinking about a thousand other things, and one of them is just how tired we are, right? And so we see that manifest as reduction in productivity. We see it look like a lack of creative ideas. We see it look like distance in professional relationships where we're just not as connected as anymore when we're working together. And it's because we're it's almost like being one foot out the door, one foot in the door, but they're there. They just have too much. We talked before about decision fatigue and mental exhaustion. That's pervasive in how we operate these days. So we can't function. And so then as a leader, we look at these staff and we think, well, I just need to coach them on time management, or I need to coach them on skills to be more productive, or I need to look at her calendar and see what I can take off her plate or his plate. And that's just not the truth. It's just not the case. That's not going to fix the problem, right? And when I worked with this client, we actually dug into the things that were in her head. What are you spending time thinking about? What are your worries? What are your fears? What are your what's holding you back from taking healthy risks or showing up bigger? And that it can be different for every single person. But when you can actually get people present and with you in the room, engaged mentally, emotionally, get them invested for things that matter to them. And listen, this is a lot of work for a leader because you have 5 people on your team. Every one of them are going to be invested for a different reason. It's part of you being a leader is serving them well and how they need to be served. And when you do that, the team thrives, right? So my client ended up working about 1/3 less the hours. When we sat and looked at what she was doing before and after a year of working together, she was working about 1/3 less hours. She had taken 3 more vacations than she had the previous year. She had not missed one single soccer game of her son's, and before she had only made it to one. And she just felt better. She was sleeping better at night. She was showing up refreshed and ready. And she was just a pleasure to be around, right? Like we started working together and it was just stressful every day. And by the time we're done, she's excited to be there. She's engaged. She's present, right? The leaders that scare me the most, the leaders that scare me the most are the ones that are performing at the highest level, the ones that never have an issue, never have a problem, that don't see any cracks in their team because they're the ones that aren't going to ask for help until something breaks, either in them, their team, or their organization. And yes, while most clients come to me when the hit the fan and they're feeling like their lives are crumbling around them and they're looking for a Hail Mary, the clients that have a little bit easier go of it are the ones that come to me before it gets to that point. They're in a good place. They're ready to do better. They're ready to grow more. They're ready to invest, and they can avoid those issues before they even happen. So we have dealt with a lot of like depleted and exhausted kind of stuff this week. And next week, we're going to talk about communication. And this is one of my favorite topics to talk about in leadership. I used to be told that I had Jedi mind tricks when it came to communication. And I don't know, maybe it's just something I was born with, but I absolutely love creating healthy and very direct but relation focused communication skills. So tune in with me next week, and I can't wait to talk about it. I'll see you guys soon.